What's up guys, I'm Nico, and today I'm going to show you guys how I cut my own hair. Now this haircut that I'm going to show you guys is commonly referred to as a disconnected undercut. It's been very popular for the past few months to probably like a year and a half, but for a while now. And it is when you have one length on the side and or the back, and then you have a sort of a drastic change. You have a longer length on the top, which you can comb over that shorter part, or do whatever you want. But there's a drastic change rather than a smooth fade between the two lengths. So what I'm doing here is I'm doing the sides first, and I fade downwards. So within that shorter length, I do fade. So I start with a 4 guard on my clippers. As you can see, 4 is around half an inch. And then I slowly fade lower and lower to shorter lengths, and that way I get a nice fade within the shorter length rather than just having one length. Both are good, both have, their pros and cons. They look different, so depending on what style you like, you go for one over the other. But I do like fading. So now I'm using the purple wall guard, which is a 2. This is 1/8 inch. I should have gone with a 3 first, the 3/8, but I did forget to do that. I didn't forget, I actually thought I was doing it, and you'll see me pick up the 3 guard later. And what you want to slowly do is, move downwards and fade the longer lengths to the shorter lengths, and take as much time as you want or as you need, because when you cut your own hair, it's a long process and you're going to have to check and double check, because you don't really get to see yourself from afar besides what you see in the mirror and your second mirror, which I do recommend. Now if you guys are wondering what type of clippers I have, I'm going to leave them in the description box down below. So what you can see here is I'm trying to show you guys that my natural part is kind of high, but I'm doing the undercut a little bit below my natural part. So you'll see that when I let go, my hair sort of flops down over the shorter length, and that's because I'm not really following my part, which I do correct later on. I just decide to shave up all the way to the part, so that my hair kind of falls naturally the other way and none of it falls over to this side of the head. See, now you can see I'm using the 1 guard, which is 1/8. It's the hardest guard that I use. It's the shortest guard that I use, because if I go any shorter, it's hard to control when you're doing it on yourself. This is the 1.5 guard, which I'm using to blend the 1 into the 2. So you can see there's that gradual fade going on. I really like this look rather than the 1 length, mainly because of the shape of my head. My head shape just suits this style better than having the 1 length. My head's a little bit bigger, the back is sort of flat, my ears are sort of big, so I like using this fade just to make my basically fit the shape of my head. So now I'm done with the one side. I comb my hair over to the other side, and then I basically do the whole process there. Now the disconnected part on this side of the head is a little bit lower than the other side. I like keeping it that way because this is not, where my natural part is, so I can put the part basically wherever I want. Now you can see that I use the comb to make sure that the hair stays where I want it to be, make sure that the line that I'm creating with the haircut is straight. So you want to make sure you have a comb where you can, pull your hair to one side, or even better, you use clips. But I didn't have clips for this, for this particular tutorial. I don't know where I do have a set of clips that I use for my hair sometimes, but I do not have them right now. So I had to make do with the comb that I used. So you can see I used the 4, now I'm down again to the 3, which is sort of that blue purple guard. It's like a light blue, light purple. And then, actually I think this is the 2 guard now. No, this is the 2 guard. So now I'm using the 2 guard, going down again. And you can see I'm just making that gradual shift from the longer length hair to the shorter length hair. Now here's the 1. So take your time, take as much time as you want, and this is not the first time I did it, so your fade might not be as good, or if you're really good with your hands, then it might be even better. So now what I'm doing is just checking sort of how it looks. This is the side that I just did, is the side where the hair sort of combs over, so it's not as important as the other side in terms of the fade. It's not as noticeable. So now what I'm doing is I'm checking with the mirror the back of my head. This is probably the hardest part of the haircut. You can see my face there. You know, I always get nervous when I do the back of my head. What I'm doing now is I'm combing the hair over to the front and pulling the hair in the back towards the back, so I know what parts to cut. And in this part, you should always have that comb. Again, with the clips, this part would have been a lot easier. I could have just clipped my hair and not had to worry so much, not had to stumble with holding the mirror, the second mirror, the clippers, and holding the comb to my hair. It's just you need like 3-4 hands to do that, so clips would have been a lifesaver. But as you can see, I'm doing the same process, starting with the 4, which is the guard that I like to start with. And you can see I'm not bringing it as high as I did with the sides, and that's because, again, like I mentioned earlier, my head is not round in the back, it's like flat. So I want to sort of fake the shape, fake a roundness, by putting the fade a little bit lower. I end up taking it a little bit higher than what you're going to see right now. But I start low just so I have that room to make mistakes if I do. I can always bring it back slowly. So again, I just start low and take as much time as you need. I can't stress that enough. Here I'm using my left hand. For the left side, I usually use my left hand. It's a little bit slower, but that's how I taught myself how to do it. And you always want to clean your head and your face and your fade as you go, so that you can see what's happening. You can see how it's starting to look, because sometimes when you have like the loose hair around your head, it gets a little bit harder to see what your haircut actually looks like, and you can wipe it off later and your hair looks completely different. So sticking with the process, now I'm using the 3 guard, bringing it up a little bit higher actually than what I had with the 4, and now I have the 2 guard, and you can see it's starting to take its shape. I brought it up a little bit higher, but it's still not as high as the sides, it's still lower. And now I'm going to comb my hair back, so you could sort of see the illusion that it creates, that it sort of fades to the top length, even though it doesn't really. There's that disconnect. It sort of looks that way when you comb your hair to the back, and that's the kind of effect that you try to make with this haircut. So after the 2 is the 1 guard, which is the shortest guard I use, and in the back especially, you have to be very slow with this and take your time. If I was a little bit better, I would actually use a shorter, maybe a half guard or no guard, and start to use the transitions within the clippers, because the clippers do have levels within themselves, so you can change the length that you cut. But it's really hard when you're doing it to yourself. Sometimes you think you're doing it correct, and then you look in the mirror like the next day and there's like a very strong line that you didn't fade out. So just take your time. I'm wiping the hair off my head slowly just so that I can see how the haircut actually looks. And I think it's looking pretty good here. It's one of my better self haircuts actually, so I'm pretty stoked about that. I usually mess up sometimes, but this time it's looking pretty good. So now, as you can see, this is what I was talking about, how I went lower than my natural part. And I sort of saw that and I wanted to address it. So what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to shave up to my natural part on the right side of my head. Instead of keeping it lower and waiting for my hair to grow out, I just, fade even higher. It looks a little bit more aggressive. Some people don't like the look. Some people like it looking a little bit, not too aggressive. But, I just went with it. I said, what the hell, it's hair. It grows back. And, that's what's fun about cutting my own hair. I don't mind when I mess up, because it's me who's doing it rather than when a barber, messes up, does a bad haircut. It's something that I can't control, and that, it sort of makes me, upset sometimes. It's better when I just do it myself, experiment. I'm happier that way. And what I'm doing now is I'm just checking the part, making sure I have all the hairs to one side, so I know exactly how much to take out and where to take the hair up to. You can see it's pretty high up on my head, and the reason why my natural part's that high is because my head's, again, pretty big and it's like round on the top. So that's what's happening right now. Some of you guys might like the more aggressive look, might take it even further up beyond your natural part. Some people don't like it so much and might just go with like a more conservative undercut if, you know, that's kind of a contradiction in itself, but some people just go for that. And this is how my hair turned out in the end. I'm, you know, pretty happy with how it looks. When I style my hair, I don't usually put any product or anything because my hair is pretty wavy by itself. It, you know, takes its own form. It's has enough volume, so I just sort of, you know, let it dry and then move it around with my hands, and that's it. So you can see here the fade looks pretty nice on the side. It looks pretty clean on both sides. I didn't take out any of the hair because I'm actually trying to grow out the top of my head. You can see on the side there's a little bit of a line, but again, for a self haircut, that's perfectly fine. And yeah, I hope you guys like this video. I know it's pretty long, but I hope it inspires you guys to cut your own hair. And ask me questions if you have any. Thank you guys for watching that video. I actually filmed that video around 2 weeks ago, which explains why my hair is getting pretty long now. It still looks okay, so it'll probably be another week or so, maybe 2 weeks before I cut my hair. So stay tuned for another updated video where I take my part even further and make it more aggressive. I'll do that sort of, you know, turn that a lot of people do. I want to try that out. But yeah, this is going to be my lifestyle slash vlogging channel. If you guys don't know, I have another channel on YouTube. I've been doing YouTube for a while, and that other channel is all about photography. So if you guys are into photography, all of the camera photography, video stuff is going to be on that channel, and all the other stuff, food, travel, hair, and this sort of stuff will be on this channel. So subscribe if you are into that. I'll also leave my Instagram down below so you guys can follow that if you want. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.